Good morning. I will try not to be too loud. It's early. Thanks for coming. This is great. It's a nice turnout. It's going to be a great day. It's a beautiful day. All the Zero spiders have lined up out there, if you've seen them. Yeah, they're waiting for us to come out. Yeah. Don't go out that door. Don't go there. Okay. It'll be a great day, great meeting. Elden's going to do a great job for us on the deer and deer population. And so I'm going to get this started a little bit here. Our mission, too fast, too much coffee. I like to put the mission up because it keeps us on track and focused, and every time we think about, we want to do this, do we want to do that, do we want to add this, we have to stay on focus and stay on our mission. And I think it's more important now with our transition with the habitat conservation, forestry habitats, all the things we're getting into. So it's a privilege and also includes a responsibility to take care of the natural world around us. Therefore, we work to preserve the natural beauty and wildlife of Bentry by encouraging BTCI and all residents to be good stewards of our natural resources. And we continue to focus on monitoring, educating, and volunteering. And that's what we're about. And we're going to stay the course. Right on to the Board of Directors report. Sandra, come on up.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sandra Stewart, and I've been in the community almost a year now. I was just appointed to the Board of Directors, and Lake and Wildlife, they asked me what interests I had, and this was the committee that I wanted to work with. And so I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to be very brief. You should have received a ballot in the mail and via email for the voting for the Board of Directors. We have 4 candidates and 3 slots available. So if you did not receive a ballot or you did not receive an email, check with admin, call up there, and somebody should be able to help you get that, get something from Votegrity. I wanted to point out that the email will be from a company called Votegrity. That's who we're working with for the election. You can either turn in a paper ballot or the electronic ballot. Whichever one you do last is what they're going to count with Votegrity. We had the board had a meet the candidates forum on August 11th. If you weren't able to attend that, you can look online, and the forum is online for you to view if you'd like to see it. The winners will be announced at the annual board meeting on October 13th. So if you have any questions about the elections, probably, to call admin and talk to somebody up there about it. I think it's probably Deborah that you'd want to talk to. There's also another thing on the ballot, and it is a rule change to the allocation of funds. You also need to be sure you vote on that. And then there will be a third ballot that's supposed to be coming out, or it's a second ballot. The first ballot includes both the reallocation of funds and the voting for the Board of Directors. There's another one coming out about changes to the CC&Rs. So be on the lookout for that. The board will be having budget meetings coming up in October. They will be on the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. And I think that's all I have to report today, but I did want to bring up one other thing. I am in charge of the Bentry directory for the Activities Committee this year. And be on the lookout next week. We'll be sending out our first blast, asking people if they have any changes to their entry, or if they have not previously been in the directory and would like to be, with instructions on how to do that. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll be pushing out reminders and throughout the next couple of months, trying to get that done so we can have that done into the publisher by December 1st and have it for distribution to all of you by sometime in January. Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to have some just quick updates by the committees on the executive board, and first up is going to be fundraising, and Marietta is going to come on up.
Thank you, Brian. As Dara mentioned earlier, this week is our Whispering Springs fundraiser for the fall. It's the first time we've done a fall one. So if you go Friday, Saturday, 10% of those profits will come back to Lake and Wildlife. And if you would like to work a couple-hour shift, there's a sign-up sheet right over on the table. Also, we're starting to gear up for Tamarack Treasures, which will be in November. If you'd just like a reminder sheet, save the date. We've got some of those over there. They're blue, and it tells you the dates and the times of the sale and kind of the things that we're going to have and things that we would be collecting. This year, we're doing collections a little bit different because we are limited in space. The collections team has decided to collect the same week that we have the sale. So if you have things that you need to donate or get rid of earlier, just contact me and I'll help you out. But for the most part, we'll be collecting the first week of November, Monday through Wednesday, and then the sale will be that following that weekend. So we appreciate it. Also, if you have any desire to help or just know what kinds of jobs we have a volunteer sheet over here. And even if you have any interest at all or just want to find out more, please put your name and phone number, and I'll just get you on our mailing list, and then you can decide from there what you might like to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marietta. And you have a good day, and thanks again for taking care of our next speaker, Mr. Andy. Andy, come on up, huh? Welcome back. Good to see you. Thank you.
KBTB, we got a couple things happening. First, we just purchased a bunch of red ribbon, and we're going to have a bow making night somewhere soon. And we've got to make about 75 red bows for the outdoor decorations. All of our bows, if you've noticed the last couple of years, have been fading and fading and fading. So we're going to be doing new bows, and that's our big deal. Our fall planting will be late this year because everyone's too busy in the last weekend in October. And the first weekend in October, we're out of town. So we're going to do our planting on the second weekend of October. It should be chilly and wet. November. What am I saying? November. So it'll be the second week of November. And also I want to add something else. I'm also the chairman of the Arts Council with VTAC. The Arts Council promotes the musical arts, the literary arts, the theater arts, all the different arts. We promote it here in Ventry with you guys. We're doing a new thing. We're going to try it at the Halloween weekend, which is October 27th, a Sunday, at Sally Doss Nature Trail. We're going to do 3 little short hikes, and the maximum number of people in the hike are 15 people. 12 and over, and we're going to have storytellers along the pathway of Sally Doss, and they're going to be the legends, the untold legends of Ventry. So if you want to find out about the cool stuff that happened long ago here in Ventry property, you need to come on to that. It's going to be $5, and we give you some hot cider and some cookies at the end of the nature center. And we also are looking for about 4 storytellers. We have scripts. The writer of all the stories is Reed Conrad's wife, Lynn Conrad. Reed, stand up. You're the theater person over here. Yes.
These are untold stories of Ventry, slightly embellished for the holiday season to make them more entertaining. So we hope you'll come out or help us participate if you can.
Yeah, we're looking for about 4 more storytellers. Okay? That's it.
So, Andy, is Sally Doss going to be there on the trail? Oh.
But I want you to know there's some really weird stuff happened in that foundation, that homestead. So one of the stories is about the homestead.
Okay. You got to talk a little bit about the hiking club, right?
Do something while I'm up here.
Yeah. Go right ahead.
Hiking club. There's a hike coming up September the 24th, which is a Tuesday. And it's being led by Robert and Janet Calhoun. It's in the Gainesville area. It's the Latchie Nature and Science Center, and the Chicopee Woods Hiking Trail. That's near Gainesville. Meet at the Admin Center at 8:45. It's about an hour and 15-minute drive out there. There are 2 hikes planned. They're both moderate hikes, but one's shorter than the other and everything. So, lunch is at Sherry's Bait and Barbecue. So it's got to be good. Yeah. So anyway, that's the next hike coming up. We're trying to find somebody to lead the hiking club. Right now, we do not have a leader. Several of us have done it for years, and we'd like to find somebody to lead the hiking club. So we've got a meeting coming up on September the 18th in the Fireside Lounge to talk about how we go forward with our hiking club. We're going to keep it alive. We'd dearly like to find somebody that would agree to lead the hiking club. We've kind of got it set up now where it's kind of the person that's in charge of the monthly hike does most of the work, but it's always good to have a leader. So if you're interested in doing that and participating, come to the meeting on the 18th, which is a Wednesday, in the Fireside Lounge. We've invited all 75 people that are on the hiking club distribution list. 75 people. And so we'll see what kind of turnout we have, but we want to continue supporting the hiking club. It's a good club to participate in, and we recognize not everybody are hikers and everything. And last but not least, I want to thank Dara for helping me put these slides together. She, in her spare time, she did a wonderful job of making my slides look pretty, and so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Lake and streams, I know Huff isn't here, but I'll just mention it's been a very busy month last month, and the streams are doing well, all 5. The pH is at 7, which is good, and 6, which is a good number. Our dissolved oxygen is at 6 and 7 and 8, which is a little low, but it's because the streams are so warm. And as you can tell, they're low. They're low. And so the lake is a little low, the exit's a little low, but they're healthy. And their alkalinity is up 50, 60, so it's good, strong conductivity, 50, 60, 80. I know these are all numbers, but it means that it's healthy, it's resilient, and it's able to recover from anything that doesn't come down or does come down with such low levels that it impacts the macros and other little things that are in the streams. So we're good in the streams, and we're moving forward. I just mentioned this last week, Elden and I worked with not only Mason, but we had Ashley out there and Travis in the streams, and looking at Mulligan, which is our next stream that we're going to do the stream bank changes and fixes on, just like we did down at Coffee Cove. So that's going to start to get in place in the next 30 days. And little trees will start to come down that we'll use as logs to reinforce the stream banks, just like we did at Coffee Cove. So we're on our route to getting that done. And our consultant, Jack White, was here this week and spent 4 hours with us in the streams in his boots in the water and what's going to be done where and how on Mulligan. So we're moving forward. Get rid of that silt. I know also, Huff, we finished the project with the crazy trees, the fake Christmas trees that we put into the lake, and I know he'd thank all of us. There's a whole bunch of us here that were out there helping. We not only got the trees, we put them together, got them in the lake, and we got a few wasp bites in between, so, we're fine. Glenn, thanks for the remedies. It worked good. LouAnn, I got hit 6 times. So, habitat conservation. Rick or Dara? Yeah.
If anybody is interested in getting involved with, I'll say wild gardening or native plantings, there's a couple places where we are if you'd like to come along beside myself, Barbara Collier, a few other people, and just learn a little bit about the native plants. I mean, in these areas, like, for example, at the back gate by the dog park and over at the spillway, these are areas where we're just kind of trying to nudge them in the right direction. And what that means is you have to know what the right direction is. You have to know what's the native plant versus the invasive plant. You have to know what to pull out versus what you want to keep. And we're going to be focusing a little bit more on not quite so wild, like the pathways, for example, where you get in to see the plants that are in the interior of some of these areas. And if anybody's interested, it's completely sort of ad hoc. You can do things on your own time at your own schedule. So let me know, because it's a fascinating world, I think. And so, if you want to learn about it, let me know. At 1 o'clock today at the spillway, I'll be over there as a little Barbara Collier, and she's got some milkweed she's trying to share the joy with, some swamp milkweed, which is a nice native milkweed. And then I'll have some goldenrod, I can't tell you the Latin name of it, but it's the shorter version. It's not the real tall one. It's about 2 feet tall. Just, they're blooming right now, so I'm going to be digging some out of the yard and sharing them. If you'd like to establish a little area in your space, let me come by at 1 o'clock to the spillway, and you can take some home. Rick, do you have anything you wanted to add? Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate the work you're doing on that ad hoc committee for sure. We'll just step right ahead with communications there.
Okay, did anybody see on the Bitree Facebook page, like, I created an event for this meeting? Did you see that? Because I don't really know what that looks like on the receiving side. No? All right, so anybody know how to do events in Facebook? I need some help, apparently. And just talk to me, because apparently just creating it isn't enough. There must be more to do if nobody saw it. So just trying to keep the word out there. Again, feel free, anybody, to remind the community of what the topics are. Of the meetings. Let me know, Wildlife Wednesday, topics or themes you'd like to hear about, questions you have. Just let us know. We'll be glad to include those in communications.
Thanks, Dara. Project maintenance is pretty simple. There's not a lot of projects going on because that's not where we're focused this year, on big projects, and a lot of that's been taken over by BTCI just because of risk and other factors. But maintenance is always ongoing. So we have the power lines, which are constantly being worked so that herbicides don't have to be used underneath them. And we also have trails that are also being maintained and work like that. And Art, you were busy this week just taking care of a drain underneath the landscaping over by the admin building. And so there's things like that have been done in the past, or things that are going to need maintenance. And we're going to kind of reform that project group committee in the executive committee and make that more of a maintenance type situation. So Art, you're valuable, and we appreciate what you're doing. And unfortunately, there will be work for you in the future, I guess. Special events, LouAnn.
We were supposed to have the employee luncheon this next week, but we had to move it. So it's going to be October 30th, and which is the day before Halloween. So we did it on that exact day a few years back. So anyway, it'll be October 30th at the cottage. We usually, we need about 4 or 5 people to smoke pork butts. We need people to do baked beans, coleslaw, macaroni and cheese, and desserts. I will have a sign up for the October meeting so that you can sign, but be thinking ahead if there's something that you want to supply for that. So, and mac and cheese, I don't know if I said that, but we do all those different things, and any kind of desserts they like. So there are approximately 85 employees, but we usually get 40 to 50 that come into the cottage. But we do send to-go boxes out as well, so we try to make sure we've got food for everybody. Also, 7 years, I have done special events. So spread the word that next year we need someone new who's handling special events. Because I need to take a break from that, and I'm willing to help whoever handles it. And a lot of the supplies, the roaster ovens or whatever the little things, burner things are called, those are actually, some of them are mine, some of them are like the wildlife's, but we'll be able to use any myself. I just want somebody else to coordinate. And it really is pretty much all cut and dry on Mary Lou had given us a zip drive with stuff, and some of that stuff, it's just easy spreadsheets and coordinating. So, but it's the coffee and donuts and the events, which actually could be alternating where different people do it every month. The employee lunch, the holiday party in December, and then the fish fry in June, usually May or June. So please spread the word to see if there's somebody who will take this on. Elden, did you already find somebody to take on fish fry? Or not? You did. So there will be a fish fry. No, not yet. So we need somebody who wants to take on help. How many years did you guys done? 25 or something? Over 20 years. Over 20 years, he has had his group of guys doing fish fry and windows and decorating. So, it is kind of time to pass it. I know it's easy to get used to the same people kind of just handling things, and we walk in and it's all done. But it's like, come on, spread the word with some other folks if some of us want to take a little break.
Yay, Elden. I want to tag on with what LouAnn just said. Volunteerism is the best thing about it. But we need a lot of volunteers. There's a lot of things we would like to do from habitat conservation, things like that. But we're limited by not just money. It's thanks to Tamarack Treasures, we do have some, but people. And so if you have 2 hours you can spend doing this or that or the other, it doesn't matter what it is. Talk to Dara, talk to me, talk to Brian. We've got a lot of things we'd like to do. A lot of things that we're behind on. We need to catch up on. And we are working on a habitat conservation plan for Bent Tree. One of the most exciting things about that is we can't do a lot because of money. So it's going to be us doing it, the residents. So we've got some activities and things that we're recommending, which have to be approved, and all that by the board, but it'll involve residents. And what they want to do is this wildlife, wild plant, natural habitat.
Landscapes.
We're actually working to develop a plan to actually a certification for residents to certify their homes as a wild plant or natural habitat home. You have some recognition on your mailbox or something that recognizes that. But come see us. There's a lot of things we'd like to do.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, Mason, so trails.
Not too much of an update this time, just clearing down trees on the trail. We've got some fairly big ones come down. So if anybody's walking the trails at any time and they see a tree down or something that needs to be cleared, get a hold of me. I'm in the directory, and we'll get it taken care of. We usually get on pretty quickly as long as we know about them. And if I don't walk the trail, if I miss a couple weeks on the trail, sometimes they sit there for a couple weeks. Nobody gets home. On Chestnut Cove, those trails are all marked out now. They're all blazed. Still have a lot of work to do on the upper reaches of the Orange Trail to establish a real good footpath. It's pretty steep terrain up there, so there's some work that needs to be done to get a footpath that's easily traversable. And that work's ongoing, working on getting signage for up there. Rick, we need to get together and
We're going to get the parking lot.
yeah, I've got a kiosk made as well that needs to get put in at the same time, so maybe we can coordinate that. And other than that, that's pretty much it for the trail.
Mason does a lot of work on trails.
Yes, he does.
He needs a lot of help on trails.
Am I supposed to be home?
You're right on time. You're the next speaker. Oh, that's right. He just spoke. We have to welcome our mayor. The mayor's here. Watch what you say. Okay. I think just in regard to volunteers, volunteer hours are moving up. Megan, you want to say a couple words on volunteer hours?
Yeah, get them to me.
Day
out is always best, so you don't forget. I know you guys think that it's not as important, but it's very important. We report these hours, public safety for, Michael and I, our contacts, to make sure that he's aware of what's being done, that kind of stuff reports to the state, where there's benefits for the things the residents are doing along those lines. So it's not just, these other prices are really needing, that they're really impactful what you guys do. So whether it's an easy way for us to do it, whatever I can do to make things easier, if I can remind you, just let me know when you're getting the meeting together, and I can follow up with you right after, or I can be there, show up, whatever the case may be. But we're always kind of scrambling to get these here, and get these together. So we change the format.
Megan, how many hours year to date now? About 600,
Yeah, like 674, I think I just did it
Yeah.
So it's really important.
She does a lot of work behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen. She keeps quite spreadsheets, detailed, very detailed on all the different activities. Like she said, it's not just us keeping track of, who's doing what on what. It has to go to safety. It goes to Bentry. They have significant tax breaks and things that happen that they can use because of the volunteer hours that we put in. So it's very important to report the hours to her, and she can put it in that spreadsheet by the type of service and volunteerism. Thank you. Okay. Our financial report, Denise was not able to be here today. She's down in Pensacola with her family. And just a little update, 11,000 beginning balance. Revenue came in 17,000. A lot of that was Tamarack Treasures, a huge amount of that. Expenditures 15.7, so our ending balance as of August is $13.57. So we're in good financial state, and we're good money in the bank, and we don't have to worry about fees or extra charges. So very good. Any questions? Upcoming October, we're going to have a presentation on dredging, different options for entry by Paul Savitsky. Tigris, his company, is the one that did the sediment survey of the lake and made presentations to us on various options. So there will be options that he can talk about, what he would think of and what he found and where and how. Probably not a lot of surprises, but at least it'll be good to see what the facts said. And then in November, of course, whiskey making around Bentry, that'll be Chris Felt. And December will be our annual report from Jim Pryor. And again, Lake and Wildlife does need help, as Rick said, volunteers, and we're also looking at new people for our executive committee. So I know most of you have been here and been around and been on the committees and been on the board and been here, and we appreciate that, because if it wasn't for you all, we wouldn't have this to appreciate and follow in your footsteps. So, I think we're in good stead thanks to a lot of you that have been here for years, but we need to keep the momentum going. So anybody that might be interested in serving on the board, or as Rick said, to volunteer, there will be some changes at the end of the year just for people stepping away. So keep that in mind, and you can let us know at bentree.lakeandwildlife@gmail.com. Anybody that wants to even email me, I do not mind at all. I'm the only Vassar in the book. So, if you want to email me or call me and leave me a text and say, hey, I think my neighbor Bill is interested in doing something, just let me know. I'll keep your name anonymous. Okay, on to Elden Bennett. and his presentation on managing deer and wildlife. Elden, come on up, and we will take it from here.
I think I know just about everybody in this room, but anyway, I'm Elden Bonnette, and I head up the Wildlife Committee, and I'd like to say I'm glad to be here, but you know, this is opening morning of dove season, and there are other things to do, but anyway, our program today is basically about deer, but just a couple of words about some of the other wildlife in Bent Tree. Bears are plentiful. Everybody's seeing bears. Mama bears with 2 or 3. And but I'm not aware of any incidents or anything with the bears. The geese, there's a pretty good size flock of geese on the lake, but they're not doing any damage right now. Now that summer's just basically over and the beach area is pretty clean, so geese are no problem. Feral hogs, we haven't had any problem with the feral hogs in a while. Occasionally there's one that's spotted at the upper levels and everything. So the feral hogs are pretty much under control, and a lot of it is being handled by property owners adjacent to Bent Tree that are doing a lot of culling of wild hogs. Yeah. The only other wildlife is the Euro spiders, which are plentiful. And if you read the article in the Pickens Progress, they said, you know, if you want to be nice, you can take your broom and get the Euro spider to get on the broom and relocate them. Yeah, right. Yeah. But anyway, I want to talk about deer in Bent Tree. And I think we have a very healthy herd here in Bent Tree. But there's always the danger of diseases if you don't manage your wildlife. And one of those diseases is chronic wasting disease, which I'm sure you've heard about. And to start off our program, let me get to this. Start off the program this morning, three phases. I want to talk about chronic wasting disease. I want to update you on the UGA study that we recently participated in and give you the results of that. And then I'll talk about what we're doing here as far as managing our deer herd, counting, and so forth. So to get your attention, I'm going to introduce Ken Tenedini, who is going to talk about chronic wasting disease.
Again, for people that don't know me, I am not Elden, just to make sure we got that correct. What I'm going to talk about today is chronic wasting disease. And chronic wasting disease is a neurological disease that affects the cervix. That's deer, white-tailed deer, mule deer, elk, reindeer, moose, caribou. And it's always fatal. Now, it's kind of nature's way of cutting down on the population. And now, as explained by a retired electrical engineer, let's get that straight right off the bat. The problem is the disease is actually transmitted by something called a prion. A prion is something that's in the human body, again explained by the engineer, and it typically you can look at it as it's a protein, and you can look at it this way. It's sort of this fashion, and then it becomes misfolded. They called it. It's this way and this way, and what it does is it accumulates in the body, mainly in the lymph nodes, and it accumulates to the point that it works its way up through the bloodstream, and then into the neurons, and then it's fatal. You get that spongy sense like mad cow disease. Okay, I do have slides here. Let's use them. Okay, this is... Okay, now that is a picture of a deer in my backyard. What appears to look as a healthy deer. But the problem, if this deer was in Tennessee or any of those other surrounding states, it may not be a healthy deer. Now, fortunately for Georgia, we are surrounded by all the states around us have chronic wasting disease. So we are kind of the nucleus in the center that doesn't have it at this point. Now, I checked with the head of the deer management in Georgia. That's a guy named Charlie Killmaster. That's actually his name. So anyhow, he assured me that we do not have chronic wasting disease in Georgia. Now, let's a little history on this. In 1976, the first case was observed or out in Colorado. And since 1976, now 34 states have chronic wasting disease. So it's making good progress. So that's why it's a little difficult to look at this. Now, what happens, how it's transmitted, a deer that has chronic wasting disease drops these body fluids, and that's contaminated with these misfolded proteins or prions. And when other deer either eat the vegetation or go near a corn pile or something, they end up getting disease and they transmit it. So it moves quite quickly. Okay, let me go to the next slide. That may help. Okay. Oh, that's a sad guy. Okay. What happens when it gets chronic wasting disease? Now, here's the problem right off the bat. Once they are infected by the prions, it takes up to 2 years for the deer to end up looking like this from the picture I showed you previously. So while you may look at one and say, oh, that deer is healthy, we're in good shape, it may have already contacted the chronic wasting disease, and it's just a matter of 2 years when it gets that way. Now, this is important. I'm going to tell you now, and I may repeat it again, is the fact that once you get these prions get into the soil and so forth, they are there for 18 to 20 years. So even though you may think, oh, okay, maybe we got past this part of the episode, your ground is still infected. Now, they have found, a study that I read in 1986, they found that it also can be absorbed into plant material. So that can be a real problem for us. I think it's stilt grass is the worst one. No, I'm only kidding, Dara. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke, Dara. That's a joke. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, now here's a little slide that I picked up, and they show the different locations. Now, what happens is like I said, it goes to the lymph nodes, and from the lymph nodes over time, what it does is now going back to biology, prions are something normal in the human body. It's basically a protein. It goes into the lymph nodes. Other thing is it's converted to an amino acid, if I remember from biology 60 years ago. But so anyhow, they're good ones. And what happens is the bad ones attack the good ones, and then they accumulate so much that they get through the blood barrier and work their way up to the brain, and then you get that spongy brain thing. So this kind of shows, it does talk about the lymph nodes and stuff, and there's a good response from Georgia, and I'll get to that in the end, about trying to prevent this to occur in Georgia anyhow. Now, these pictures that I put, someone posted these on Nextdoor, and they go, oh, it's got chronic wasting disease. Well, these don't. And the reason I know they don't is because there's a Dr. D'Angelo who came and gave a talk here about 2 years ago about deer management, and there's Charlie Killmaster. I sent they're my buddies, and I sent them a picture and go, what do you think? And they go, no, because they can look at it and say, look, the body, if it's chronic wasting disease, they're real thin, they lose a lot of body weight. And the ears are another indication. You'll see what happens to that in a minute. So this deer does have, as I say here, has medical issues, but it's not chronic wasting disease. Okay, now here's a bad one. You can see the body weight and the loss there. You can't really read that. That's too bad. What happens is when it gets to this stage, it starts drooling, gets body tremors, it loses a lot of weight. They're almost like our deer here. What I mean by that is they're not afraid of humans anymore, right? They just kind of stand there in a daze. And so that's kind of an indication. All right, let's get through the slides in a hurry then. Okay, now here's a real bad one. This tells you that it's like I said, it's by direct contact of the body fluids, blood, saliva, feces, urine, are affected with this. And like I said, they talk about it's contaminated in soil, food, or water. That's also true, but in the study that I read, it's also absorbed into certain plant materials that if the deer eats the plant material, it's going to get it anyhow. And statistically, of those 34 states, some states have experienced a herd loss of about 3%, and others already up to 20%. So it can accumulate a lot of deer. Now, I'll pick on somebody here in a minute, Miguel. Now, let's say, Miguel's up front here. Let's say Miguel goes to Tennessee, and he's a hunter, and he shoots a deer, but Miguel doesn't want somebody touching his deer, so he brings it all the way back on the hood of his car, because that's what hunters do. He brings it back, and he hangs it in his backyard, and he skins it and does all that stuff, and all the droppings are there. And then Miguel also likes to see deer, so he puts a corn pile out back. So the deer come, and they go through the mess that he left there, and then they work their way to the corn pile, and then they urinate and do all that stuff, and then that really spreads it. So that's one of the problems of stuff coming from outside. Now, Georgia has very strict regulations as far as that. You cannot bring live deer into Georgia since 2005. You can only bring back, Miguel should have been allowed, you're only allowed to bring back meat that's been boned, no bones in it, and if you put the skull cap and all that other stuff, it has to be clean, so you can't have any soft tissues. All right, so that's the key to that. Okay, this is another backyard buck from my house. Now, the thing to understand here, that if they get chronic wasting disease, it's always fatal. They're always going to die. It's a matter of when. Could be the 2-year period, and they die. Now, okay, I don't know if this is my last one or not. No, it isn't. I got one more. Another buck from the backyard. The thing to remember, now, the important thing for us in Georgia is the response. And that's why I'm giving this little lecture here on the response. In Georgia, what they've done is their risk management, they've taken Georgia and divided it up into 6 regions. We happen to be in Region 1. Region 1 is a top western part that includes 34 counties. Okay? So they take those 34 counties and they look at what is the risk or probability that chronic wasting disease will enter in our region, which again, our region happens to be Region 1. So they look at, well, the probability is we're near Tennessee, they got a problem, right? We're also near North Carolina. North Carolina has the same problem. So they're always monitoring. And how they monitor this is very simple. What they do is in our region, there are 50 taxidermists that are registered in those 34 counties. But there are also 81 deer processing places. So they go and they monitor, and they're looking to find out if chronic wasting disease is somehow in the meat in these places. Okay? So now the other thing they do is if at the deer check areas, let's say someone shoots a bunch of deer in Georgia, if they go to the deer check area where they look at your license and all that stuff, they'll take a sample of underneath the lymph nodes. The problem is they can come back and go, look, we see you have a problem with chronic wasting disease in your meat. Maybe you don't want to eat it, right? However, it's a 2-week response time. Now, Miguel's not going to hang his deer up for 2 weeks in a tree. So the problem, that is a problem because they got to get the response time down to something that's manageable. So that's part of the problem. Okay. What did I forget? Let's look at my notes quickly. Nothing really. Other than, just remember the one thing, Georgia does have a good response. So the response that I'm expecting of the people here, you know, if you see a sickly looking deer, particularly with the droop ears, body loss, all that stuff, you got to notify the wildlife department or security, whoever. So, and what they'll do is they take an area, they'll say, okay, let's say this is the nucleus here. They're going to take an area that's 5 square miles around it and very closely manage that area. Sometimes they'll have to reduce the deer herd if that's possible, if they can do that, but they'll get it down to a point where they believe they can contain it. However, the problem is these 34 states that are reported have been unable to contain the chronic wasting disease. So it is somewhat of a problem. Now, here's a simple case. How serious is this? In some states it's very serious, but here's a clear example. In the state of Montana, I read their report, they shot 88,000 deer in Montana, and they tested only 6,000 because a lot of people don't bring them to a place where they can actually test the lymph nodes. So they tested 6,000. Of the 6,000, only 253 actually had chronic wasting disease. So you got to be a little lucky here. Now, Montana knew that they had chronic wasting disease back into 1989. So what I'm saying is it's not something as a hunter, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm not going to eat venison anymore. No. If you're in Georgia, don't worry about it. You know, if someone is bringing you elk from Montana or one of those other states, you got to be a little careful. Now, I did, like I said, I spoke to Dr. D'Angelo and I spoke to Charlie Killmaster about the probability of it crossing over to humans. No, not possible, right? Not possible. However, it's like mad cow disease, and they said, no, that's not going to have mad cows, but 200 people died in England and France over mad cow disease. So one never knows, but the important thing is that our job is to notify someone if we see something like that. And the other thing is, if you're a hunter and you hunt out of states, please make sure you bring the stuff back properly. You know, boned meat and all that stuff, and get rid of all the soft tissues. So that's the end for me. Thank you. Don't move it.
Move this way. You know, there is a test kit that you can buy if you want to test your venison. You can go on Amazon and you can order the test kit, and apparently pretty effective. But anyway, thank you, Ken.
Wait, one more thing. People say, okay, well, listen, no problem. I'm going to cook my meat. Now, when you cook venison, you end up really concentrating. Right. But the other thing is, I read from the studies, to get rid of the prion in meat, you got to cook it at 830 degrees. That's not
going to let's move on to the next part of the program, the customized deer management program. You probably recall a couple of years ago, UGA and DNR initiated a project to look at how to better get along with deer in communities. They were looking for a way to best approach urban deer management. And what they wanted to do was to provide recommendations to foster positive working relationships between DNR and the communities such as Wandrie and the residents to improve deer management. Now, the project started in January of 22, and a young man by the name of Shane Beamy was working on his graduate degree, and he was heading up the project. And we were approached to participate in the program. A lot of other communities were invited, Big Canoe, Kusawati River, Lake Arrowhead, Martin's Landing, and it was free, and we felt like it'd be a good program to participate in, so we signed up for it, and we were asked to form a focus group to provide some basic information to the UGA study. So we formed that group in March of 23. There were 12 people. In June, Shane conducted the survey here in Bentry, and you might remember him. He was at the post office, and he spent 3 days here, mailed out all the survey forms and everything, and we had a 57% response rate, which I understand they felt was pretty good for that kind of a survey. In October of last year, they finished compiling all the data and issued an executive summary. Last month, we got Shane and Dr. D'Angelo to come over and address the focus group and give us the results of the study. So that took place last month. The project is going to complete sometimes next month. And so the only thing that we were kind of disappointed in is we were the only community that participated. The other communities decided not to. They either had their own program working, or for some reason or another, we and Martin's Landing, which is a community in suburbs of Atlanta, in a more densely populated area, we were the only two that participated. So where we were hoping to get results from several communities such as Bentry, we didn't get that. But anyway, I think we've got some pretty good results from it. I borrowed a few slides from Shane's presentation that he made to the committee, and this one here just shows why the increase in deer, how the population has increased. The ornamental plantings that everybody is, likes and does, and, you plant it and we lead it, is the way the deer look at it. Low predation. There are no wolves, there's no saber-toothed tigers anymore or anything, so that's contributing to the increase in the deer herd. And also limited hunting. There are fewer hunters, more land that's posted. So all three of those factors, and what we end up with is over time, we've got more deer. What the UGA study did was look at minimizing conflicts, how to use different techniques to manage the issues in the communities, and looking at there's lethal and there's non-lethal methods that were looked at. Here's about a dozen of the management techniques that the UGA study addressed. Starting with habitat modification is one option. Exclusions, you can build fences around the property, around bent tree, et cetera, habitat improvement. Hazing, this one shows a water sprinkler or horns or what have you. Hazing is an option. Education, use of repellents. You can buy repellents at any time and try to use them to control deer and other animals. No feeding policy, which we have over here. Reducing speeds, changing your infrastructure. Sharpshooting, controlled hunting, and regular hunting, or you can do nothing. So those are some of the management techniques that the UGA study looked at, and they took that and looked at what are the objectives that they are trying to achieve. And these objectives were sort of the results of some of the responses that we gave when we did the survey here. When they did the survey, they compiled all of that. And what we're trying to do is minimize the conflict between the deer and humans, maximize the health of the local ecosystem, which was really the most important one of the responses that we made. Minimize social issues related to deer, neighbors arguing amongst themselves as to too many deer, not enough deer, just enough, etc. And minimize any cost associated with deer. So they took those 12 alternatives and sort of categorized them as what's productive, what's not productive, etc., etc. In the unproductive area of repellents, it's very limited effectiveness. So they categorize that as non-productive, non-viable, traditional hunting, limiting your speed limits in the community, doing nothing, hazing, habitat modification, exclusion, change the infrastructure. They considered those non-viable. Controversial, there was none. What was acceptable? Education, stop feeding, sharpshooting, controlled hunt, and habitat improvement. So, what was their final recommendation? Based on the information they had and the options available and everything, they concluded that the most effective in bent tree would be sharpshooting or controlled hunting. Sharpshooting is when you use organizations like the Department of Agriculture that have special units that specialize in taking out deer in communities and so forth. And some communities like Lake Arrowhead, I know use them. I believe Big Canoe uses them also. But it's pretty expensive. Controlled hunting, that is taking them out in your community with specific rules and regulations and controls, not opening it up to everybody being able to shoot deer on their property, but a controlled hunt, management supervised hunt. So those were the recommendations that UGA came up with and presented to the focus group. Now they have shared all of that information with DNR. We're not likely to get any recommendations from DNR, but they are aware of our situation here with the deer that we're trying to manage in bent tree. So if and when we need them, they're there, they're familiar with our situation, and hopefully they'll be able to help us if needed. Now, what are we doing here in bent tree? Bent tree deer management. Years ago, Linda and I, on one of our trips to Alaska, we visited a trapper. He was a good old boy from Alabama that was in the service and went to Alaska, never left, and he was a trapper. And one of the things he left us with, he says, if you don't manage your wildlife, they'll manage you. So with that, that kind of stuck as to why we're doing some of this. So what are we doing? In 2010, well, thank you. In 2010, there was a forest management ad hoc committee that recommended Bent Tree institute a deer herd monitoring program that addresses the size and the health of the herd. That was in 2010. The board approved it, and they tasked the general manager and public safety with implementing that. And Lake and Wildlife volunteers to help them coordinate that, and we assist public safety in conducting annual deer surveys. They recommended and accepted using a spotlight survey as the method of doing these surveys. We do them 3 consecutive nights in the month of October. When we started doing this, we were doing it 3 consecutive nights for 3 consecutive months. And last year we decided only to do it in October, and one of the reasons was the cost. Public safety has to spend overtime money to provide the driver and the vehicle and everything, and we felt like if we did it consistently in the month of October, which we always covered October in our previous studies, so we're now doing it month of October, 3 consecutive nights. We have a standard 13.2 mile route that we use, and I've got a map to show you in just a minute. And that 13.2 mile route gives you the 1 square mile visibility index. Now, you might ask, how in the world do you get there? Well, 13, using a little coon-ass arithmetic, looking at it, if you take the 13.2 miles, a mile is 5,280 feet. You've got some 69,000 feet of roadway, and we assume that we can spot 60 to 70 yards on each side of the road when we do the surveys. So if you can spot 60 to 70 yards on each side, the total 13.2 miles, you come up with the 27.8 million square feet of surface area in a square mile. Just a little fact checking. But anyway, Tim Long, I think you were part of that original study when y'all came up with the 13.2 miles, and it was pretty good. So anyway, we've got a standard route. We started doing the count on the golf course a couple of years ago, sort of optional. We were just curious as to how many deer were on the golf course. And the activity is counted and is certified by the team. The survey results are summarized after we do the survey between our participants from the Wildlife Committee that's helping public safety, and we provide that information to the general manager. The general manager is tasked with the management of bent tree resources, including wildlife, not lake and wildlife. It's the general manager is tasked with that. So, what's our procedure? It's a 4-person team. You got the driver, which is generally it always is somebody from public safety. We've got a recorder, somebody that records the data, and 2 spotters. Driver and the recorder sitting up front, 2 spotters in the back, 1 on each side. We use a spotlight. Minimum of 100,000 candle power. These are about 300,000, but anyway, we're using a pretty powerful spotlight. And the vehicle is provided by public safety. So if you, in the month of October when we're counting and you see a public safety vehicle with spotlights and everything, it's legal. It's legal. We use the standard 13.2 miles on the main course. The golf course is about 5 miles of cart path. The spotters communicate to the recorder when we do spot deer. Now the driver is limited to about a 10 to 12 miles an hour speed limit, so that you can catch on both sides. If we see deer, we tell the recorder, 2 does. Make notes as to how many of them were bucks. Do we see any? If we see animals such as fox or raccoons or what have you. We've never seen any bears, and we've never seen any hogs at night, but lots of deer. The results are summarized after we do the count. We initial the count sheet and everything, and that's provided to the general manager, the results of the study. Here's the route that we use. The red end is 13.2 miles. We start at the admin building, and we go. Sorry, admin building right here. We go up Mulligan. We go all the way up Tamarack, all the way Denny Ridge up to B Street. We come back and we pick up Tamarack, come all the way back down, and back to Little Pine, take Little Pine, Little Hendricks Mountain Road, Old Clark Mountain Road, all the way to the end. So that's the standard 13.2 miles that we count. The blue is the cart paths around the front 9 and the back 9, and that's about a 5 mile trip. Now, there's a whole bunch of other streets and roads that are not counted, so just keep that in mind. I'll address that on another slide. So we've got our route. Here's the results of the most recent count. That was in October of last year, 24th, 25th, and the 26th. On the standard route, we counted 35, 43, and 39 and 3/9 for a total of 117 deer. That's an average of 39 deer. So our conclusion is that you counted 39 deer per square mile. We count the golf course separate just for information purposes, but you can see the number of deer that are on the golf course at night. 55, 33, and 27, 115. And since the 5 miles is like 0.37 square miles, that's an average of about 103 deer per square mile on the golf course. And then the combined, but we basically work with the standard 13.2 mile route. Here's what it has averaged over the last 5 years. Back in 2019, 14.6. Now up to 39 deer per square mile. So you can see there's been a gradual, steady, significant increase every year using the standard route, same practice, same rules and so forth. Back in 21, we were about at the threshold that we had established, or the committee had established back in 2010 or so forth, that we could live with 20 per square mile. We're at 39 now. So, what do we do with that? Trying to determine if we want to reduce the herd down to 20 per square mile, which was the threshold, what do we need to do? 3 assumptions there. One, the 13.2 miles is pretty much, I would say, represents different terrain in Bent Tree, low area, high elevations, considerable amount of open space and so forth. So I would say the 13.2 miles is maybe a prime route. And option one, if you assume the rest of Bent Tree would produce the same count, if we did the count in all those other roads and streets that we have, the estimate is you'd have about 195 deer in Bent Tree. Bent Tree is a little over 5 square miles. I used 5 square miles just for talking purposes. So you've got just under 200 deer in Bent Tree. To bring it down to 20 per square mile, you need to take out 95 deer or reduce the herd by 95. Option two is if you say, okay, maybe the roads that are not counted only have half the number of deer that the prime 13.2 miles produces. You have an estimated 117 deer in Bent Tree. You would have to reduce it by 56. And taking it a step further, if you assume that it only has 25% of the number of deer that the main route has, then your numbers come down to 78 and a reduction of 37. Now, I know good and well, if we counted every one of those roads, you'd find deer on every one of them, because every one of those roads has grass on each side and food and everything. So is it 50%? Is it 25%? Last year, since the first time we looked at it that way, we said, okay, at a minimum, we need to take at least reduce the herd by at least 37 deer. Now, when we met with UGA, looking at the study and everything, we told them, say, you know, our threshold is 20 deer per square mile. What do you think about that? And their response was, if you want to see any significant improvement in your understory, your habitat and so forth, you need to take it down to below 10, which is pretty significant. So what this slide shows is if we elected to get it down below 10, you're looking at some pretty significant numbers in the number of deer that need to be removed. Again, the three assumptions, anywhere from 144 down to minimum of 58. So that's how we count the deer, analyze it, provide the information to the general manager. It's his responsibility to manage the resources in Bent Tree, and public safety is on board. They are effectively addressing the deer issue, the overpopulation, and hopefully they'll continue to do so. And we're here to help public safety. They are looking not only at the deer, but like I said, the feral hogs and so forth. So we've got an ample supply of deer. We've got more than we probably should have. It's a matter of, you know, what do we want to get it down to? And what's a good number to live with? As a start, I'd be happy to at least get it down to the at least to the 20 that we established as the threshold, and then look further as to do we really want to get it down to 10. In fact, Dr. D'Angelo's number was, he said 6 deer per square mile, and they're looking at us as a forest area, not an urban area and everything. So they're evaluating Bent Tree like they evaluate forests. So anyway, that's where we are with the deer. So next month, if you see a public safety vehicle coming around at night, flashing, we try not to flash in your bedrooms. And in the counting, sometimes one of the reasons we have good, strong spotlights is a lot of time you think you're looking at a deer and it's a Generac generator with that little light. So we got to be real careful, but I think it's pretty effective. And you know, it's not a, it may not be an accurate number, but we do it to establish the trend. The trend is our deer population is increasing, and yes.
Elden, when will a determination be made about the management of these deer?
As to what to do, I'm not sure. It's up to the general manager, but they are working on it. They have been, and they've removed deer out of Bent Tree, and doing it effectively, discreetly, and without a single cost to Bent Tree. If we hired the USDA to do that, we're looking at anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to do what we're trying to do at no cost to Bent Tree. Yeah. Yeah, Rick?
I noticed on your slide that we're 21 out of 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
35 that you get. Why do you think it jumped up so much?
Why it jumped up so much? I don't know. You know, we've had 2 good years of excellent mass crops, which lots of food, and that may be one factor. A lot of food.
I know that's when you get some.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Obviously, what we're doing is using. We've got
Public safety got a late start last year. You know, after we did the count and everything, they got a late start. And you can only do this during the regular Pickens County deer season, which is different in every county. So you got to abide by the local hunting regulations. So they got a late start, but it took out a significant number, or I'll just say they relocated a whole bunch of deer.
Well, could we figure out a number that we're going to take out based on what we did last October, or we wait for this October?
If I understand your question, the 37, based on assuming 25% in the uncounted areas, the minimum number of deer we recommended be relocated was 37, and they worked towards that number. And that was based on 2023 study. Yeah.
In 2023, we took out 37 based on 2023 numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Well, they use 2022 numbers, but they get an earlier start. Do we have to wait for the October?
Yeah. Back in 2022, I don't think we had a recommended number that we gave public safety. Yeah.
When is the hunting season?
It starts the bow season starts next Saturday.
Well, what I'm saying, that's September the 15th, 14th.
Yeah.
We're going to go till middle of October before we do our counts. We're missing almost 2 months of hunting season.
Yeah.
I'm using this year's count rather than the 39 we have last year.
Yeah.
I said we're losing half the hunting season, so it's going to be a late start every year.
Well, we'll see what the October 24 numbers look like to adjust any numbers for this year. Yeah. So all they have to go on right now is last year our count showed 39 deer per square mile, and they yeah. I'm not sure on what you're getting at.
What you're saying is that we will do a county on county.
Yeah.
That's what takes about 8 Well, we're halfway through the season.
It runs through the middle of January.
Why can't we take 30 last year? I know they called it 37. Why can't we take 39? This year's prices.
They probably are. Yeah. That's the data they have to work with.
Elden, do we know if our deer carry the tick that has Lyme disease? Has that ever been addressed?
Not aware of any. You know, we've been fortunate. I talked to Michael Corey. He said, we've had only one deer automobile accident this year. And our speed limits, health there. We've been very fortunate. We haven't had very many deer-related incidents. Lyme disease, I'm not aware of any. Or any other disease. There's another disease called zombie disease, which is it's not quite wasting disease, but it has some of the same symptoms. It's pretty common in Georgia. But public safety is, I think, on top of it. He's got his staff trained to watch out for animals that appear to be acting irrational, what have you. And they're pretty much on top of it and checking it. And so I'm very pleased with what they're doing. Okay. Thank you.
Great presentation, Elden. That's good. These are some details that we all needed to see. Let's give Elden one more hand. We're looking for a few good people, period. Excellent day. Thanks for coming out. Remember, any of you or people you know, new people that have come in that would like to be on our board, committee, we welcome them. We're going to be meeting some people at the first of the year. Thanks again for coming. Have a great weekend and take care.